Good morning, everybody. This is Mike Shira, digital marketing designer for Brookside Studios. And today's Marketing Minute Monday is all about responsive design. What it is not, and why the almighty Google says you must have it. So what is responsive design? Well, responsive design is the concept that suggests that design and development should adjust to the user's behavior and environment. Using a mix of fluid grids and layouts, responsive images, and CSS media queries, which we'll get into very shortly. The concept of responsive design basically suggests that in any environment that the user is in, that when they're visiting a website online, or maybe it's a microsite, even an email, that responsive design dictates that what that user is looking at, the media that they're looking at, should automatically adjust no matter where they're at, what device they're on. The great thing about responsive web design is that it uses all the same code across all devices. So where did responsive design come from? In 2010, website designer Ethan Marcotte came up with the concept of responsive design and actually coined the phrase for the very first time. Now this is 2010, that's not too long ago. So Ethan wrote an article for a blog called A List Apart, in which he compared the need for responsive design to a new growing technology called responsive architecture. Recently, an emergent discipline called responsive architecture has begun asking how physical spaces can respond to the presence of people passing through them. Through a combination of embedded robotics and tensile materials, architects are experimenting with art installations and wall structures that bend, flex, and expand as crowds approach them. Like responsive architecture, web design should automatically adjust. It shouldn't require countless custom-made solutions for each new category of users. Obviously, we can't use motion sensors and robotics to accomplish this in the way a building would. Responsive web design requires a more abstract way of thinking. So even though Marcotte coined the phrase in 2010, responsive web design, there was actually another web designer in Hamburg, Germany, named Jim Kalbach, who worked for Razorfish, and he was tasked with redesigning Audi's new website. This was back in 2002, so if you know anything about web design, it's come a long way since then, but he had some really forward thinking, and this is what he had to say about the project. Developing fixed size web pages is a fundamentally flawed practice. Not only does it result in web pages that remain in a constant size regardless of the user's browser size, but it fails to take advantage of the medium's flexibility. Never before has the demand of flexibility been greater. Solutions developed on the web now will affect and inform future design. That's pretty profound thinking for back in 2002, when all we had were tables and cells and fixed width columns and row heights. Although his design was more adaptive than responsive, what Kalbach accomplished was simply revolutionary. Here are a few screenshots of what he designed at various sizes: 640, 800 by 600, 1024 by 768. Back in the day, these were what we had to work with. So how does responsive web design work? As we talked earlier, it is a mix of fluid layouts and grids, responsive images, and CSS media queries. So what is a fluid layout? A fluid layout basically just means that things move effortlessly, whether you are on a large screen or a small device. We design it so that things can shift naturally, depending on whether your device is turned this way, straight up, big or small. So after you establish your fluid grid, you have to make everything responsive. And responsive is a buzzword here. So to make an image responsive, to make your content responsive, you have to make sure that it is going to display properly, again, by using percentages. You don't want to load up a huge 4 megabyte stock photo that you display on your website and then expect it to perform well on your mobile device. So you have to optimize everything to make sure that it's nice and responsive no matter what device you're working on. So the last key component of responsive web design is CSS media queries. CSS media queries deals a lot with the code and basically telling the design how to perform and where it should perform in such a manner. Let's say you have a button or an image that is displayed big and bold on your website, but you don't necessarily want it to be displayed on your mobile device. So you can include CSS media queries that basically tell those elements of your website when and where they should show up. If you don't want them on your mobile device, you write a line of code that says, hey, if my device is less than 400 pixels wide, don't show this element. So these are all key things to keep in mind when you are developing a responsive website. So why do you need responsive design? Well, like I said, Google demands that you do, and we'll get into that in a second. But the big thing right now is that mobile usage is on the rise. In 2013, actual statistics show that people viewed more websites on their mobile device than they did on their desktop. Second reason why you need a responsive website is people be shopping these days. They're shopping all over the place, and people make snap decisions about purchases, and most of the time they're not sitting at home in front of their computer while they're out at the mall researching the latest dress. They click over to the website, they can order it right from Amazon, right from their phone. Social media pushes and drives people to make decisions online. It drives them to engage. Ads are starting to show up on those things, and when you click on that ad, it needs to take you to a responsive website. If not, again, the pinch and zoom. I hate the pinch and zoom. Remember the guy that used to say, I'm gonna pinch your head? That's what I think of when people are pinching and zooming on unresponsive websites. Here's the big thing, Google. Responsive websites increase your SEO rankings. If you are a small business, medium-sized business, large business, corporation, globally, you have to be responsive, and here's why. Google ranks your website now on a mobile-first platform, meaning that if you're not responsive, your rankings go way down. Again, earlier I talked about the ease of responsive design, that it uses one code, one set of code. You have to design one website and it displays great across all mediums, all devices. The alternative to that is adaptive web design, which is kind of old hat. It's what Jim Kalbach did for the Audi website back in 2002. You have to do twice the work for the same results, and that's not good for your bottom line. So the last reason why you need a responsive website is that it just makes for a better bathroom experience. I mean, let's face it. Everybody goes to the bathroom and they're on their phone. Most people used to take 5 minutes in the bathroom. Now they're taking 10 or 15. Why? Because they're probably looking at your website. It's a little creepy, I know, but it's a great thing for the bathroom readers out there. Well, that's it, guys. Responsive web design, why you need it, and who you should contact to get it done. Hey, we've got a whole team of developers at Brookside Studios, so give us a call if you have any questions. Feel free to drop a comment down below, share this content. Next week, we've got James Pigman coming in. He may bring his dog, he may not. I'll bring the treats. We'll see what happens. So have a great week, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Peace out.